All right, live Thursday night, almost like BTL late night after hours.
Except I don't have to worry about Mark Jeffries yelling at me tonight.
Yeah, you don't have to worry about Mark yelling at you, and then I'll probably read more of the comments than you guys do. So we'll have all the people that complain about that nobody reads the instant feedback and never ask the question. We'll ask all those questions you have for Matt tonight. Tackle Junkies streaming tonight. There's a lot of people. That's the thing now. Like in the last 6 to 9 months, streaming has become really popular for fishing. So
I've messed this up. I'm hearing you, Rich. I gotta figure out how to turn this off.
Do you have the stream on as well, like a YouTube open or not? Boom! What's up, Shadow Bassin? How is the sound, everyone? People are rolling in. Were you going to dump?
God, you would think I do this every day. You think I would know how to turn this off? All right, let's close this out. Let's close this out.
So we sound good for the listeners.
Let's close that out. That's probably a lot better. I won't be able to see.
You can see the comments in the.
Yeah, I just have to pause it. Yeah, we're golden now. I messed up your intro, Rich.
That's all right, dude. This is informal.
And you were rolling too.
That's all right.
You were rolling into it.
This is super informal. This is not. We don't have a specific formula for this. This is just hanging out, talking fishing.
I got you. Is this your first show in the new studio?
This is the new first show in the basement studio that I've got. I went to my Home Depot, made some lights. I got myself a little green glow in the background there to try to give it that depth. So yeah, this will be the first time not in the Bass Cat in the garage streaming. So it's just a little too chilly out there. So this is going to hopefully be the warmer streaming studio tonight.
Very nice. Yeah, you're doing a lot more streaming. You've been like adding followers and picking up I mean, go catch them at the national championship. You're on a roll this fall.
It's been a decent roll with a few close calls that really could have been really good, right? So like I've had a really good year, but I've been like a couple ounces away a few times from having a great year, I guess is how I'd put it.
That's pretty much how the last 3 years of my life have been too.
Yeah, so
I've talked to some guys who, I mean, they're like, they do it. Like they've done it for 20 years and they're like, dude, you just keep putting yourself in position enough times, it'll eventually happen. Like the key is giving yourself a chance.
Absolutely. Well, yeah, Terry, first time here. Thanks for tuning in. Yeah, we do have a whole lot of suck less. Let's see what else is. Serious Angler says, what's up? Yeah, honestly, I started streaming back in like March or April, partially out of sheer boredom and partially out of I had hit my like 1,000 subscribers at that time or a little more than that on YouTube, and I was trying to get my watch time up. And so I was looking for a way to get my watch time up to kind of get over that partner program threshold. And because I just didn't have, like, it was before season was open, so it really couldn't go out and like film a ton of stuff for videos, and like I just can only do so many like tip videos a week from my like basement or garage, right? So I was like, I'm gonna try this streaming thing, and I started on Instagram, and then I was like, this is kind of fun. Went to YouTube, and then just the audience actually picked up reasonably decent pretty quick. You know, was getting 10s or 20s or, you know, dozens of viewers pretty quick. And there was a lot of interaction, and it was really fun, and like passed the time and kind of scratched that itch that while I was waiting for water. And I just kept going, and I just kind of got into the rhythm of doing like a fishing video every week and then doing a stream every week. So just that's been kind of
explain to me how this works, Rich. So you guys, this is foreign concept for Oklahoma. So you guys have a season, like you cannot fish for bass during the off season.
Yeah, so it's partially because of the ice and partially because of the season. So the season is closed from the last weekend in February to beginning of May.
Spawning deal.
So that's the theory. I mean, the regulation's been in there so long that nobody really knows why it was there. But yeah, they thought they were protecting the spawn, I believe.
So like if you catch one on like a leech and jig head while you're out walleye fishing or whatever, you just have to like put it back immediately, or
yeah, Yeah, and actually walleyes don't open until about the same time.
Oh, really?
Northern
so can you
walleye
like not
bass.
fish for anything in April?
So panfish and rough fish are open year round. Game
Really?
fish like walleye, bass, pike, and probably some other things. Don't open till middle of May.
That's wild.
Yeah.
You can fish for crappie year round though, right?
Yeah. Yep.
Okay.
So panfish year round. So then even like ice fishing, right? Like end of February, walleye closes, walleye and pike. So like even late ice fishing season here is only panfish, perch, crappie, sunfish.
So the only way I've like season like that. So like when I was up in Alaska, I've got a buddy who has a place on the Kenai, and like I go up there every couple years and then different times of the year, and like we're rainbow fishing, and he's like, hey, if you hook a king, like legally, once you realize you have a king salmon on, you have to immediately break the line. And I'm like,
how can that be good for
wait,
him?
say that again? And he's like, yeah, like they don't want to like, because they're, I guess, going up to spawn and stuff. They don't want to like or stress them out or something like that. So like we're drifting down the river and it's just like, that's a snag. And then all of a sudden it's just like, and it's like a 50, 60 pound king salmon. I mean, it hit, you're probably not going to land the thing because it's on like 12-pound test and a little B, little number one. But you like get over it and you're like, I mean, it's like the biggest fish you've ever hooked. And he's like, yeah, technically you just need to just like reel down and break that off. And I'm like, are you freaking kidding me?
Yeah, like how did that get to like leave 20 yards? I don't know, whatever.
Well, I mean, these things are freaking massive. They get attacked by all sorts of stuff. But yeah, so that's so anyway, now I know what now I understand the season. Because I always see like on Instagram and stuff like, oh, it's opening season, opening day.
So on the back end, we get hit by ice, right, in about middle of November. Right, like that's when things ice up here, middle to late November. And then on the front end, when things are like, usually, I mean, most years you get out late March, early April, but then we can't really. I mean, we can go out and fish, but you kind of gotta, I don't know, right? You can kind of fish around because can you ever really say what you're fishing for? But
yeah,
I mean, you could target bowfin and dogfish,
chatterbait those bowfin.
Yeah, but.
Interesting, but I mean, you got northern strains up there, so I mean, you got open water. They eat if you find them. They're
pretty much
once it
gets largemouth. I feel like once it gets above 40, they bite pretty good. When it's below 40, it can be tough. But smallies, yeah, you got open water, they're biting.
That's awesome.
So we got one question here. We're gonna take a quick one here. Corey says, besides the BFE, what's your favorite big bite bait?
Swim on, no doubt. So like I was a big fan of the chatterbait a lot, obviously in Oklahoma, even though there's not much grass. I mean, it's rock, lay down, stuff like that. And I use the Zako a lot before they came out with the swim on a couple years ago. And so this is honestly like the swim on is a pain in the butt to throw because it's got these little holes in the tail. And it's like the perfect distance for when you make a roll cast. About every 10 times, one of those little holes will go around the hook. And the thing is, though, the way the water displacement is when they got the proprietary rights to it, that swim on tail goes like that. And the only reason it goes like that, it's actually the same like holes that are in the kamikaze craw too, which give it like a really good kicking action. But those holes, like, I don't know if you ever follow like a chatterbait, like Ron Davis, the guy who invented the chatterbait. Originally, that bait is designed to blow out. It's designed for erratic action on fast. You put a big plastic trailer on the back of it like a Zako, and you're muting the action. You're basically making it harder for it to blow out, which has, I mean, obviously has advantages. Look what freaking Brett Hyde has done with the thing. But that less bulk, less drag in it allows you with that swim on to actually blow that thing out, and it actually kicks at a low. That's why a paddle tail or a Kitech or a pro swimmer or something on the back, if you'll ever notice on the back, like you would think it would be like do 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 and then you get it, but it like actually counteracts that kick on a paddle tail. So the swim on's like the only one that I found that actually has a really good swimming kicking action while you're reeling the chatterbait in. Like I said, you just have to like unhook it off like every mean, sometimes you go 10, 15 minutes with it, but if you're skipping docks and stuff, it's like every 10 or 15 casts, but it's worth it. Cause I mean, as soon as you get that thing, like a jackhammer, dude, as soon as it starts going, that tail's kicking. So that's the one that I really, really like.
Yeah. Is there any uses it besides do you use it for anything else?
Yeah. I'll put it on the back of a big, like a 3/4 ounce War Eagle spinnerbait. It works really good on the back of a spinnerbait, and then also on the back of a swim jig if you're just like straight reeling the swim jig, which I've got. I mean, I kind of was forced to learn a swim jig a lot on the Arkansas River this year, getting ready for that open and stuff. I mean, it's not like a big paddle like that. It's more of a streamlined, but I haven't tried it on the back of an A rig. I think it would be disastrous as far as those little holes getting hooked in the hook, but.
Yeah, the way I think of the chatterbait, and I used to use a lot of paddle tails, and I've really come around to either like trimming them off or doing some different things, or ones that have really tiny tails on them that don't really. So the best way is explained to me is if you shoot archery at all, right? If you don't have any fletchings on your arrow, right, that arrow will walk or wander, right? And the more drag or fletchings you put on your trailer, whether it's paddle tails or swimming legs, it's gonna straighten your chatterbait out and reduce the action.
Like a keel, work as like a rudder.
Right.
So yeah.
If you want it to hunt and blow out, less is more.
Yep. So yeah, I'm a big fan of the swim on. They just came out with a bunch of new colors. I mean, they got one that goes with that fire craw.
Sure.
And all sorts of different variations. But I mean, I don't even have any other chatterbait trailers in the boat. So that one's definitely my favorite besides the BFE.
Favorite wacky rig bait from Big Bite?
4.5-inch smoke purple finesse worm.
Finesse worm, okay. Cool.
I mean, dude, like all finesse worms are the same as long as you have it like the Zoom, the Big Bite. I mean, there's little variations in it or anything, but I mean, just that little profile on that wacky worm is really hard to beat. I mean, I fish it like a wacky worm. I'll actually like donkey rig it most of the time with a 2/0 straight shank. And then sometimes I'll go straight through if there's no cover, and then just a 1/16 ounce nail weight in the front, in the nose of it.
Sounds like a chicken rig or an eco rig kind of. Yeah.
Chicken rig, I think, is the name of the deal. Ike's done a bunch of stuff on that. That's like deadly. Yeah,
they also made one of their, is it a trick stick? Is that what theirs is called?
Yeah, they make a trick stick too. So they make one that's actually got an O-ring.
Yeah, I was gonna say they have an O-ring. Yeah. Turned the way that I would actually want it. I haven't used them much, but they actually.
Yeah, so here's the thing. Like, I honestly don't think I've ever wacky rigged a Cinco or a stick bait or anything like that. Like, if I'm wacky rigging, I'm using a trick worm. You can also use that like 4.5-inch coontail worm that they have. That's really cool. It's kind of got like a spiral design around it. It's kind of a mix between like a French fry and a finesse worm and like a Lake Fork ring fry deal, kind of all into one. But yeah, that just a straight 4.5, and then sometimes I'll go up to the 6-inch, just the straight finesse worm.
Yeah. The other bait that I think that's actually kind of cool that I've used a little bit for flipping on the river and stuff is the Swimmin' Mama.
Yeah, I haven't used that. I have not. I keep meaning to get some. So I had not used the Yo Mama for ever, and then I fished a Nichols like 2 years ago with my buddy, and he like flipped up a 776 on a Yo Mama out of Grand in April, and he's like, yeah, it's the only thing I used to flip. So I've been with Big Bite for just going into the second year here now too, but that the Yo Mama is like really flat, has a really when you need a little bit bigger profile, has a really good glide to it. Yeah,
which is their timeout.
Someone just give you $50.
Yeah, thank you, Monty McWilliams. Super appreciate that. That's awesome. Love it. Huge shout out to you, Monty. I know Monty found me from the Baitman, so special shout out to Kevin Baxter, the Baitman too. Super awesome.
I watch all of his stuff. That dude's ridiculous. He knows everything.
Yeah.
Like him and Eric get together, it's just like mesmerizing.
Actually, next week, Epic Eric on this.
Really? Yeah. I'm convinced. Let me see. You could do the same. I'm convinced that I could go fishing for a weekend with Epic Eric, and he could change a bait every half hour for the entire weekend and never use a bait that I've heard of.
Probably, for sure. Awesome. Yeah. I'm distracted. I remember we were talking about Monty like completely blindsided me.
I know. Now you can finish your basement studio. It's like golden now. You're thinking of all the stuff you could buy to put up in there and finish that thing off.
What was I even talking about? What were we talking about? We were talking about the Yo Mama.
We were talking basically about Yo Mama and alternative baits from Big Bite.
Sure. Yeah. So that's basically their beaver.
No, I've never wacky rigged like a Cinco, like a thick, like what Jordan Lee did when he won the Classic on Hartwell and stuff. Like I can't even remember if I've ever wacky rigged like a 5-inch Cinco. Like if I'm wacky rigging, I wacky rig a trick worm. I mean, I'm not saying that there's any reason why I shouldn't. I like the fall rate and all that stuff. A little bit more finesse. I mean, if I'm doing that, I'm typically not looking for big bites. I'm looking to like catch a limit, and I feel like anything that would eat that Cinco is also going to eat a finesse worm as it goes past. That's why instead of like a 30-second, I'll go with a 16th ounce to kind of increase the fall rate. So you get all the benefits of the wacky worm and the visual bite, plus a little bit of the reaction bite with it.
Plus the Cincos and stickworms are probably overdone, so you're giving them a slightly different look, right? I mean,
yeah. And I mean, I'm throwing it on a spinning rod with 8 or 10 pound test leader.
I know you're a big grass guy now. Like that's your new thing.
Oh, just huge. Just love grass. Just can't get enough of it.
And I know the BFE is good around grass, but up here in the North Country, the craw tube is the juice flipping grass.
Yeah, that's got like a cult following to it. Yeah. It's got the tube with the tube and then the little claws out on the side.
Yeah.
So
it's a good bait. And actually, because that actually was originally most popular as a Lake Fork bait.
Yeah.
Back in the day.
Didn't Yum also have one that was very similar to that?
They had one, but it was a little more craw. Like it actually was more craw, like a little more realistic, and it was kind of small. You couldn't really like Texas rig and flip it.
Okay.
I think you had. Here's somebody asking about the new Aftco 3L. I think you talked about that on BTL. Like you have fished out of that and used that, right? The Reaper jacket.
Yeah, that thing is legit. So, so I got a large. It's $99. It's well worth it when they have it in stock. So, here's the deal on that. If you have the Reaper, like the original, like just the normal like hooded sweatshirt Reaper, with the collar that goes up, like the turtleneck collar. So like if you're fishing, that thing's golden. If you're running, it's golden. If like you're in the truck or you're anywhere where it's not like sub 30 degrees, it's like the most annoying sweatshirt to have on because it's so warm. Like you're like, get this thing off. And I was worried with the jacket that it would be, tough to wear that. No, that's a little bit looser on the neck. There's a little bit more material there. And I actually wore it this past week, and I fished 2 tournaments where I had a lot of time to think about comfort because we weren't catching them. And so the large, the large was definitely large in that thing. Totally plenty of room. It like zips completely up the side. I was kind of worried about like, can I get it on with a pullover? No, I mean, it's got pockets on the side and stuff. I don't know if it's 100% waterproof. I mean, it got wet and I didn't get wet, but yeah, it's awesome. I think I have. I'll go grab one. Do you have time? I can go grab one if you want me to.
Sure, you got time.
It's cool.
What's up, everybody? Yeah, thanks for all the comments. Excited to see so many people in here. Michael Minnan, we will talk about the elite schedule for sure. That's definitely on my list of things to talk about. Here comes the...
I mean, I'm not like trying to turn this into an Aftco ad or anything like that. But so here's the thing. So like my hands get to the point where like, if you ever have it like, that's called like Raynaud's or something. I went to the doctor for it. And it's like once the blood vessels constrict or something, you don't get good blood flow. And one of the things I really like about this that I didn't even know it had, it's like this pouch in the middle. So like there's the jacket there. And there's a pouch down here, and it goes all the way through. So it's like a quarterback pouch, like you see like Aaron Rodgers using and stuff.
And then you can keep your BFEs in there and keep your hands warm at the same time.
Yeah, but I mean, so the neck comes out of the jacket. There's your turtleneck right there, and it's just a little bit bigger, and it's like waterproof. Yeah, I'm super happy with that thing.
How would you say that? In stock. How would you say the sizing runs for Aftco?
I'm a large and everything, and I'm 6 foot 180.
Just one person says they feel like it runs small, but I've never tried.
Yeah, it can. I mean, I've got a large in this, and it's all the room that I want in that 3L. I'm also not like wearing a ton of stuff underneath it, though. You know, like you can wear a sweatshirt underneath it if you want. I guess you could double Reaper it, and then you just have the warmest neck in the league. But that'd be a bold move.
Double Reaper. Wow. Yeah. The only thing I've got a couple of the like their hooded like the hooded long sleeves, like I got several of those shirts.
Yeah, I mean, if you like to wear your stuff like baggy, like go up one size definitely, because like a large fits.
Actually, when you talked about that jacket on the show for $100, I was like this close to buying it, and then I looked at the extended forecast for Pickwick, and it was going to be 70 all week, and I didn't get it.
I like it though. I mean, it's a good deal. So
nice. Well, before we get into like all the questions, I think what people really want to know about is this big derby you have on Table Rock coming up next week.
Yeah, so it's just a brand deal. They have like a meeting for one of the groups that the distributors that kind of reps a bunch of different groups, and there's like 8 to 10 of the anglers that are sponsored by some of their brands, and then the guys who work, they have like a casting contest, and then they get to pick who they get to fish with. But the guys fishing it's like Justin and Mike McClellan and Jeremy Lawyer. And a couple, Brad Hallman's going to be there, a couple guides up there, Brian Head from Denali. So there's some like bragging rights on the line. Like I said, there's like prizes. I think there's like a Yeti cooler, like a griddle. I mentioned that on the show. I want to win the griddle. So kind of like a bragging rights deal, but it's fun anytime you can get a small boat tournament like that together with, I mean, obviously McClellans and Jeremy Lawyer and some of the other guys. I mean, it's not like a show up and cash a check. Like you actually, like I might go up and practice a day or two just to not embarrass myself. But
is this gonna be an A-rig deal, or is that not quite?
So here's the thing: you can only use an A-rig after 1:30 in the afternoon. 2 days of tournaments. They do like a meeting. Like I said, there's only like 9 guys because I mean they're all like spread out, obviously because of the day and time that we live in right now. But so you get in 2 days, and you get 3 hours a day. You can use the A-rig. 3 hooks in Missouri too. Nice. So 3 hooks, 2 teasers. Because I didn't realize that, and I was getting it ready. I had my Hog Farmer 7-wire 12 blade ready. Dude, that's the ticket right there. That is the A-rig. And I'm gonna have to leave that one on the bench.
Yeah, but you know, the arms and the teasers and the blades, I think that's all a big deal. But the number of hooks, I don't really like. I threw a little bit down on Wilson the day I didn't make the cut, and like it was mostly whites with a few largemouth, but like 9 out of 10 had that center one. You know what I mean? Like it's amazing that center or bottom one, if you make it slightly different, it doesn't matter if you have 3 hooks, 1 hook, or 9 hooks, you're still going to catch almost every one of them. So
yeah, that's weird how they target that. I mean, there's a lesson in definitely a lesson there in tapping into that fish's like
primal instinct.
Yeah, primal instinct on which one to hunt. You get one a little further back, one bigger, one that's a different color. I mean, it's the same thing as like the wolves that kind of, like cull out that caribou that's limping, instead of all the healthy ones. I mean, that's the premise behind an A-rig is you're in the winter, you're cold water. It's a risk versus reward deal. So if a fish has to expend energy, like they're subconsciously saying, hey, if I have to track down this single bait fish that's swimming past, my caloric intake is going to be way more than, the benefit that I get from it. So now if you have an A-rig and they're slow and there's one that's wounded, they're like, okay, minimal effort, high chance of success, boom, there you go. Yeah. So, in my opinion, that's why an A-rig works so good and why I always have 1 or 2 that are either further back or different or a little bit different size, gives them something to key on.
Yeah. Monty, good question. This is a really good question. I don't know. Practice, and I think if you're doing it for the first time, take one of your factory visors and set it over the top of your other ones and trace it before you cut it, and you should.
You did a video on how to cut it.
And there's 2 videos on my channel if you want.
Yeah. Like you've done a tutorial on how to cut a perfectly good hat.
See, if your head was as big as mine, you wouldn't think they were perfectly good.
Is that even the Richardson 112s don't fit?
Some of them are okay. I do have one Omnia one that fits pretty good, but most of them don't.
So your hat's like tall, so the hat.
Yeah, it's tall, so it like wraps up. This one's pretty good. This old Milwaukee one fits pretty good.
Yeah.
But most of them are like Like they like just wrap around my head.
Yeah.
really
Now, if I
awkwardly.
tried that one, I would look like Mario.
Yeah, like I don't know, how's this one? See, this is how most hats fit. Like they ride really high, and my head is like touching the top.
Really? See, I can't wear that one that they gave us because that one's like
Right.
the high hat club.
Yeah.
Well, you just rock it like Todd on. Just put the old cap on like
just
that.
like,
you're
just
good to go.
barely just set her on there.
just on there like an old gunfight might break out at any minute.
Now I'll just get Aftco shorts. So I don't need to cut my pants. That's all right. So let's see, where should we go? Do you have any more? So outside of this Table Rock tournament, are you done for the season? Do you have any other
I'll fish probably a couple jackpots on Controllables,
Winter
I'll
League.
fish a 10 killer jackpots and just jump in some other stuff. But primarily, I'll take like a month and a half break and I'll go crappie fish for the next month and a half. That's what I do instead of hunt.
So funny, this is actually, so Bill, he's a good buddy of mine, lives across the street. He's fairly into bass fishing. And this is interesting because like I just assumed anybody that would watch my channel or that was friends of mine knew what BTL was. I was like, we went up fishing Saturday and I'm like, yeah, I'm having PANGER on next week. And he's like, who? I was like, BTL, Bass Talk Live. And he's like, I was like, yeah. So I guess so at times like you think fishing is so small, but it's also super like pocketed, like so. It's
a niche sport.
It's like
for sure.
Small, it's niche, but even like the people that are in it, it's still segmented, right? Like it's super interesting. So next year you're planning to fish the Opens again?
Yeah. So here's the deal. The rumor is that they're going back to 3 divisions.
Okay.
Which would mean 9 tournaments. So this was the first year that they did the Easterns and the Centrals, 4 in each one with an overall, which is obviously what's going on at Lay Lake right now. Trying to get the 4 Eastern spots and then the 4 overall spots, and there are like 40 guys that fished all 8 of them.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm really hoping, and I actually did a big push on this on BTL and extolled the virtues of having as many overall spots as possible of guys who fish all 8 or 9 of them, depending on how many divisions there are to have that again. So if that's the case, then yeah, I'm fishing as many as there are. If there's not an overall, I'll just kind of look at the schedules and see how it lines up, but I'll fish 2 of the 3 divisions, which would then only be 6 tournaments. But man, I'm hoping that if there are 3 divisions, there's a 9 tournament overall. Because I mean, if you're legitimately like seriously trying to make the Elite Series and you're like, oh, fishing 9 events at $1,800 an event across the country is too much. Well, you're not ready. Why would you want to fish the Elite Series then? Like it's literally like an Elite Series schedule.
Right. If you're only willing to fish 4 tournaments, you're not really prepared to make the Elite.
Yeah. I mean, if that's what it is to offer, and I only fished 1 of the divisions, which was a big mistake for me this year, was by only fishing 1 of the divisions. But I mean, yeah, if you have to be willing to freaking be all in and do that if that's what you want to do for the foreseeable future. So hopefully they'll do the overall and I'll fish all that.
So did you not sign up for all 8 because you weren't sure? Were you questioning yourself?
Because it was January in Florida. And my season didn't get over until November at Cumberland in 2019. And then I didn't really know what was going on there as far as FLW and the FLW tour going on. And by the time all that stuff got sorted out, it was already like a wait list in that one. And if I'm going to start the year in Florida in January, that's like a real good way to get your butt kicked if you're not like chill with going down there and knowing it.
But now that you're a grass flipper, no worries. So
yeah, I mean the joke there for people who don't listen to BTL is I never really fished grass until this year, and then ironically cash a check on both Neely Henry in part and Sam Rayburn by fishing grass. So
I got one question from my buddy Gaff on Instagram. He said, "What was the most intimidating, challenging experience fishing the Open so far, and what was your biggest lesson from this year's experience?"
There wasn't anything that was intimidating by it. I mean, I'd fished 2 divisions of the Costas, and one of the things that's I think works in my favor is, so the professional fishing industry is the only thing I've ever done since I was 22 years old. And I went to every single elite series from 2008 to 2017, 2018. So like I've roomed with these guys, I've been around these guys, and like I know like they suck sometimes, they catch them sometimes, they're really good sometimes, but they're just like dudes. Like even the dudes are just dudes that fish. So like there wasn't really an intimidation factor. And then also the cool thing is I did a lot of on the water coverage for 10 or 11 years. Like I did live with Mark Jeffries where we did like a firewire cable and went live on Bass Zone before Bassmaster did it. I've shot photos and videos. So I've been out on 50, 60 of these different lakes. I mean, all the way from the California Delta to Champlain to Florida to Amistad. I mean, literally all the lakes that they've been to, I've been out on in a lot of different conditions. So there wasn't really that intimidation factor at all for that. Coupled with, I mean, I had some success last year in the Costa series, so it was a different feel this year because it wasn't just like, so I fished the Opens in 2015 and it was like, hey, let's fish the Opens. I thought it would probably help just to get an understanding, being able to talk on BTL podcast of knowing what it was like going through it. And then after last year and just how things were progressing, like I've always wanted to fish, but I've always also wanted to be super respectful of working on my career while covering the guys who are actually doing it. Cause I mean, man, it's hard to get there. It's hard to do it. And those guys who have made it and get there, I mean, they deserve all the freaking credit they can get and all the coverage they can get. So I just kind of waited till the time was right and then just was like, I'm going to jump in 100% of it and not really cover the on location stuff and just do BTL and fish. So it was definitely just a different mindset this year for me, like just going to do a job. Like I didn't look at it as like, hey, let's enjoy this or let's see how it goes or anything. It was like, okay, I've got a tournament in a month and a half. What can I do today to help me get ready for something in a month? And every single day and work up for it. And then as soon as that one was over, it was on to the next one. So I looked at it more as literally like going in and doing a BTL show. I tried to take the Opens like that too, just just little steps every single time. And then by the time you get there, you're just like ready to roll.
Yeah. Would you
Except
say
for Louisville.
Is there any big difference between the Costas and the Opens in your opinion?
Yeah, boat pressure. I mean, we've all seen what the numbers are boat wise. Oh, they went to 8 divisions this year. I know they're going back to 6 last year, but I mean, I kind of got in 2019, kind of got like the end of, I guess like the big boat fields in the Costas. Right. So, I mean, dude, a top 10 in like the Costas or the Everstarts or the Stren series was like a big deal. You go back and look at, I mean, just like go back and look at like mid 2000s all the way up until like 2017, 16, you're dealing with like 200 plus boats and like just some jammer fields, like every single local because of how good the payout was. And I kind of got the tail end of that. So there's like 130, 140 boats in most of those tournaments. I mean, dude, you get on Rayburn, 225 boats, 180, 190 on the Arkansas River. Like that, just the biggest difference is there's nothing easy in the Opens because like everybody does the Google Earth, everybody has the connections, everybody's there, and then the guys who jackpot it, like, you know, they're and that happens on the Costas too. But I mean, dude, you just add an extra 100 boats, especially on the smaller fisheries that we went to this year, minus Sam Rayburn, but a lot of guys were condensed into one kind of mid-lake area there on the bridge. But I'd say that's the biggest difference is you just every day you see people, and when you don't see people, it's either really, really, really good or really, really, really bad. And I experienced both of that this year. Like, I mean, like literally where you're just like, what's wrong? Like, what's wrong with this area? Like I'm catching them, but no one is around me. And then the vice versa where you're like, oh, well, this area is too good because I'm catching them and there's tons of people around me. So.
Is it tough to sit back and watch other people fish and compete while you cover it?
No, I liked it. I mean, what's your option? Office job, do something else.
Right.
I mean,
that's all about perspective.
Yeah, like I totally get used to it. Like I understand how guys could be like, oh, I could never do that. But like I said, that's the only thing I did for 10 years. And I still, you know, fish tournaments and Bass Nation and stuff on the side and competed a lot, you know, but you just kind of get into that mindset, a different mindset when you're covering a tournament.
Yeah, for sure. So you ended up with like 20 something in points on the Central?
Yeah, 25th. I went into the last one in 14th, I think, and then ended up 25th or 26th. About 21 spots too low.
Right.
So
how many points was that, like, overall in the end?
I think I had like 602. Let me pull it up here because I had it pulled up because I was looking at all of it. So I ended up with 602 points. Right now, 4th place is 688 points. But then you start doing double qualifiers. So if Christy double qualifies, or Kenta, or Mark Frazier, then you're dealing with Hackney, Gleason, Browning, Swindle's a double qualifier, Bragg. So now you're down to 670 points. So yeah, I mean, I finished 91st. If I finished 30th, I'd have been sniffing it.
Right.
Probably really disappointed. So there's like a silver lining to this. So like I'm kind of glad that I didn't finish like 35th or 40th, because I mean I dumped a good one at Rayburn. Like I literally dumped it at the boat on a drop shot, like a 6-pounder. Like as I was reaching my hand out to get it, and I didn't put this in my video, but I like looked at my co-angler and I said, that fish that we just saw right there, I said that was my Elite Series. And I finished 38th in that, and I did the math. As I weighed in a 14-pounder that day, I'd have finished like 14th or 15th with just that fish.
14-incher, so, not 14-pounder.
14-incher, yeah. Yeah. Did I say pounder?
Yeah.
Yeah, I had a 14-incher. So a 6-pounder. So that's like probably about a 4.5-pound difference.
Right.
And I mean, that fish for like months, and I didn't like wreck me or anything. I literally was like, hey, came off. It wasn't meant to be. I fought it. It was down in a brush pile. It came up. I thought I had it. I mean, it just came off. Fish come off. But I mean, I touched it. I touched the fish. And I was like, God, I really hope it doesn't come down to like 15 to 20, 25 points. So silver lining is that fish didn't cost me anything. Yeah, that would have been a hard one to swallow, like to sit there and know, like, and dude, guys, think about all those guys that have done that, like to win a classic or to make the classic or to requalify or to qualify for the Elite Series. There's a bunch of guys that like live with ghosts, man. Like I'm sure did you have anything like at the national championship? Or did you fish clean?
At Pickwick, I fished clean.
Yeah, so there you go. Like you're just like, damn, I didn't get another bite.
I really like that. I was much more at peace this time than last time. Like last time when I was on the Ouachita River and I just didn't catch them, but I was around guys and I could all 14 hours home was thinking about like, why didn't you do this and why didn't you fish there and why didn't you fish like this, and like this time it's just like it just feel like it just didn't happen. Like
that's how I felt at Louisville at the end of this year. I mean, my co-angler literally had 9-8 behind me on the first day and was leading the tournament. I'm fishing around Keith Poche, who was as cool as he could be, going, dude, whatever you need, man. Like, you want to go past me, you want to fish it, go wherever you need. I know what you're fishing for. Like, he was super chill. And I had one bite, and he had 12 pounds, and my co-angler had 9-8, and I had one for 2-8. Like, if it was meant to be, like, you jam those 3 that your co-angler has, and now I have 12 on the first day. I go out and scrounge up 5 pounds on the second day. Bam, there it is. Oh, my God, you did what you needed to do. Instead, I come in with one fish, and it's like, dude, I literally was less than a foot away from every single fish that my co-angler caught. And he was mellow as heck, man. Mellow as heck. Didn't even get in my way. Was like waited till I was done flipping. Just totally kicked my butt. But I'm chill with it. I made the right decision. Was around the right fish. So that's all you can do.
Yeah, my only regret is on day 2 when I got bluebird that maybe I didn't whip out a Nico rig or something like that and slow down in a couple areas. But
right. But then here's the flip side. Let's say you pull out a Nico rig and you slow down in the areas and you don't get bit. You're like, well, I'm an idiot. Like I was in the top 10 after day 1 power fishing, and I guarantee if I'd have kept throwing that spinner bait, I'd have gotten 1 or 2 more to react. And instead I slowed down. Like why would I, you know what I'm saying? Like you can always look at a flip side of that.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just saying, like, I wish I would have gave it 20 minutes.
Well, yeah.
Yeah, you know what I mean? Like, just tried it for a little bit. Don wants to know, was your co-angler throwing anything different than you?
He was literally throwing the same thing, same weight, same line, everything. Yeah. He just kicked my butt out of the back of the boat. His theory was that I was agitating him by only flipping in there 2 or 3 times. So when he flipped in there the 4th and 5th time, they were like, okay, fine, I'm going to bite it. Which then caused me to really slow down. And then I fished about 4 laydowns in an hour. Didn't get bit out of them. I said, it's just, fishing is one of the few things where sometimes the best, like, you have to be honest with yourself. You have to realize whether you screwed up something mentally or physically, like some variable that you could have controlled that you didn't. But if you know you were within your head and you know that all the uncontrollable variables were controlled and you know you put in the homework that you thought you needed to put in and made the moves that you needed to thought, if it doesn't happen, it doesn't happen. Like, I can live with that 100%.
For sure.
It's if one of those elements isn't there. That's where you have to go back and be like, okay, this is, I mean, you're trying to make the Elite Series or you're trying to win the national championship. Why didn't I respool? Why didn't I change that hook? Why did I speed up instead of and fish out of my comfort zone? But as long as you did all that stuff, I mean, it's fishing.
Yeah, for sure. There's definitely tournaments though that you do something, you don't prepare, you don't respool, you don't rig the baits, you don't practice the way you know, and then that's when that's when I feel like,
yeah.
I had this at the state tournament where I finished 11th. That what I'm not. The day before the tournament, I respooled brand new line, Sunline, 20 pound on my dock rod, and you know, they come in those bulk those little plastic little cups, right? The lids on them for Sunline. Yeah. So I like flipped it over in my box and I just like spooled it, but I turned it sideways, and let it sit in there so it wouldn't like roll around in my boat compartment. Well, it turns out the edge of that little plastic container is a lot sharper than you think it is. It created a bunch of bad spots in my line, and I broke off twice.
Yeah, that's not good.
No, I mean, like that wasn't like, I didn't realize it, right?
Right.
But now I know now I won't do that again. But it was like, man, that was a tough lesson to learn.
Yeah. Mine is the Costa. So like I had the Costa last year on Table Rock, and it was stupid easy to catch a fish there. Like it was the week before that BPT went there, and everyone caught like a gazillion fish, and they set every record. Like you could literally go down any bank on the entire lake and throw whatever you wanted and catch 2-pounders. Like it was that stupid. Like on a Roman Main Negotiator, I caught a spot, smallmouth, and largemouth in a 5-minute time span out of 2 bushes. Like that's how good it was. I was like, that's never going to happen again. Anyway, I come in with 10 pounds on the first day, and I'm in 99th place. And I was throwing that little wacky worm, and I was in the docks and the braces, and they're hitting it on the fall. So I know it's a reaction bite, and they're way back in the corners where I can catch the largemouth. And I'm throwing 7-pound test. Like I knew it. Like I know I might have made a comment to my co-angler, like, man, typically when they're like this with cross braces, I throw 12. And sure enough, I hook a 4.5-pounder with like an hour and a half left, and I get him out, and he goes right into a cross brace, and I break him off. I mean, that was just a dumb move. It would have taken me 5 minutes, 3 minutes to sit down, retie a leader with 12. And then I retie it with 7, and I break another one off. Day 2, I retie it with 12, do everything right, and have almost 15 pounds and end up cashing a check. I jump from 99th to 33rd. Well, I 100% make the final day. The top 10 doing that on Table Rock if I'm not an idiot and I'm fishing with 7-pound test and that stuff. Like that, that still pisses me off, Rich.
Yeah. Could have been 12. He might still broke you off on 12, but at least you would.
No, he wouldn't have broke me off on 12 because I could have stopped him.
So.
Yeah, but I learned that lesson the hard way at Gunnersville in the regional in 15 when I had like a 6-pounder on 8-pound test or 10. That was 10-pound test on a drop shot around a dock. And then the next day I put 15 on, hooked another 6, and said, well, he ain't going to get me back in the dock. And I turned him. And that was when I realized I need, when you're around that stuff, up the line when they're hitting it on the fall. But I momentarily forgot it that day. That's the type of stuff that bugs me, man.
Yeah, for sure.
The stuff that
100%.
you know better and then you continue to do it. like how often you throw a crankbait and you're like a little hook, like a hook point gets rolled over and you're just like, you like still make another cast before you sharpen it.
Or you, or it gets opened up on a fish and you decide, instead of changing it, you decide to just tweak it back with your pliers.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, you can do that when you're fishing the Tuesday nighters and that kind of stuff. But when you're fishing for that's when you're on a qualification path or you're fishing for $1,000 entry fees, that's the stuff you can't get lazy on for sure. Well, here's a one. Do you know what that little crankbait Hallman likes to throw in the fall?
I do
you know
not.
What he's talking about. So I think I just saw a video on this. I think he showed it on maybe one of Scott's videos. I think it's a 1.0 square bill. I'm not sure who makes it. It might be a Lucky Strike or something like that. I'm not exactly sure, but it's a 1 point. Might be a Strike King. I don't know. But if you go search Scott Martin, like secret, it's one of his practice videos. He gets Hallman and he gives up a juicy and Upshaw. They all give like a sneaky tip. And I'm pretty sure he talks about it in that video, Don.
There you go.
You gonna fish the U.S. Open in 21?
If schedule allows it, I still want to be the only guy to win it from the AAA and the pro side. So I got the AAA down because of dumb luck and good draws in 2018. I like that lake though. That lake is so freaking cool. I was gonna fish it this year, and then obviously with the COVID, everything happened. And then Billy from One Bass and I really like the way he runs it. And then also Rick and the guys at Basscat are really making a push to kind of cement themselves out on the West Coast and really show some love to those guys on the West Coast with Basscat and get it established out there. So you see a lot of guys that I mean, it's a commitment to go out there, to drive out there. I mean, you're talking 20 hours and all that. And but you're seeing a lot of guys that are putting that into their yearly rotation. Hallman, you know, being one of them. And yeah, it's a special tournament. It's cool. It's a lot. You can do a lot more power fishing than I realized out there. Especially if you go to, you know, the Overton Arm and stuff like that. But you can do whatever the heck you want out there. It's so cool.
Yeah, seems like a cool place.
Yeah.
Top 2 colors of the BFE.
Definitely BTL is one of the colors, and I just think where you're putting it, especially around shade lines and stuff, it just has enough transition between the black top and then that kind of chartreuse streak down it, and then the June bug on the bottom. It's just a good imitator of pretty much whatever you want to imitate. And then I really like Tilapia Magic with a chartreuse tail on it. Those are definitely my 2 favorite colors. Definitely when it's sunny out, that Tilapia Magic with the chartreuse tail is a great color to flip. That's what I was flipping at Neely Henry, was the Tilapia Magic with the chartreuse tail. And then at Rayburn, I was flipping the BTL color. And then at the Arkansas River, I was also flipping the BTL color.
Yeah, I like that color. Wasn't available. Well, that's the color I really wanted, was that Tilapia Magic.
Yeah.
You know anything about the Basscat 203 hybrid?
Yeah. So obviously one of the I have not been in one yet. I've actually seen a couple of them though. It's is it the 210 hole or the 208 hole? One of the old, anyway. So Champion's got that old cult following of guys who absolutely love the Champions. And what Basscat did was actually buy that hole, and then they're putting either a Puma or a Cougar top cap on, kind of depending as your layout. So you basically get that Champion ride with the top cap of the Basscat and all the features of the Basscat on the top. So, I mean, it's not going to go, 78 to 80. Yeah. It's a low 70s boat, but it's going to feel like that old Champion. So, I've talked to a couple of guys who have them. There's a few out there already, and it's the real deal, especially if you're in that bigger water and you like that Champion back there in the 90s and 2000s.
Yeah, cool. So let's talk about Lay Lake and what's happening and what's going on down there. So William Jackson brings up a good point. He says, you guys see Scott Martin definitely needs to catch him better tomorrow, which is true. But I guess one of my I have my opinion. I think yours probably echoes mine. but there's a lot of people that still think that like Scott Martin somehow is going to make it if he doesn't qualify. And he thinks like some of these other people like Brad Hallman and Randy Blockett and some of these other like big names and veterans might get spots. What is your thoughts? Do you think Bass is going to go do anything weird like they did 3 years ago?
No, I don't. Does that mean they won't? No. There's a possibility they can do whatever they want. When they sign a contract, there's a little thing in the bottom of the contract that it signs. It says, this is what you're abiding to, and we can basically do whatever the hell we want. That's what everyone agrees to. Right. So, I mean, if they want to add Joe the cat fisherman off the bank, they can do that, and it's totally fine with them. I mean, that's in their rules. That being said, I know that just with conversations with some Elite Series veterans, guys who stuck around, people who work at Bass, and like none of this is the Bible. This is just kind of the feel that I get.
The vibe.
There's a sense of loyalty there to those guys that have kind of been through this whole transition that started in 2018, and to kind of just start throwing other guys in. And I realized they had to do that when they added the 8 or 9 guys from the FLW tour. But I mean, dude, they had to fill a field also. And this is a business. And I know you could have gone down 15, 20 down the open list. But I mean, dude, you've got Forcewood Cup champs and 3-time Angler of the Years and former Classic champs and guys who are sitting there with names. And I mean, you have to have a competitive field that's going to, you know, bring sponsors in and draw attraction. Not saying that the guys you haven't heard of don't yet, but I mean, dude, you had to compete against the Bass Pro Tour in the first year, and I thought they did a hell of a job doing that in 18. I say that to get to all this. They've had a couple years past that now, and this group is really molded together. Like, there's a lot of camaraderie, a lot of pride at what that group of 85 Elite Series guys has done over the past couple years. And Bass has been pretty adamant as far as, you know, there might be a Legends exemption here or something like that. But, you know, no one is getting dropped this year because of the COVID year. And then they're adding 12 guys, at least maybe 13 or so. It just kind of depends. So that's 95. So now you're up kind of more towards 100, pushing that number. So I don't think that they want to kind of upset that apple cart of the guys that they've told, hey, we appreciate you sticking around. We appreciate you here. This is what we're building. And it's called the Elite Series. I mean, there's a qualifying process for that. And you're also talking about letting guys in who left. So would it be, quote, good for business? Yeah, I can totally see how you could make that, and guys would kind of complain about it for a little bit, but hey, you get big name, but at what cost to the integrity of the league? I mean, like, in all honesty, that was one of the problems that I thought FLW faced for so many years. Wasn't the big field size, but it was the Ranger backdoor, where, you know, you have the right boat and you call the right number, you're on the tour.
And you may have never fished a coaster and ever start in your life.
Yeah, you're like, well, where did this guy come from? And you start looking up the stats, and then, you know, they wouldn't drop anyone and stuff. So, yeah, you had your David Dudleys and your Brian Thrifts and Scott Martins and Jacob Wheeler. You had all these incredible guys that we're now seeing. I mean, back in the days, you know, Randall Tharp, I mean, Bobby Lanes. Look at all the guys who came there. It's unbelievable how many talented anglers are at FLW. But the perception was, well, anybody can fish that if you have the money and you call the right number at the right time. So I think that's what the Elite Series is trying to keep it, and keep it the Elite Series. So would it be shocking if Scott Martin had a weigh in? No. Do I think he does? No. Do I think he's freaking out right now, knowing like, oh my God, I need to catch 12 pounds tomorrow, or I got to do this whole thing again? Yeah. Do I think he's lobbied to get on there regardless of what happens in the points? Absolutely. But, dude, I think there's a good chance if he's not in the top 4, he's not going to be on the Elite Series.
Yeah, I agree. I think the only way –
I'm not saying he wouldn't be, and I'm not saying it's wrong if he isn't. Because business-wise, that guy's good for Bass. He's good for the Elite Series. He's good in the Bassmaster Classic, trying to do what his dad with 9 Anglers of the Years couldn't do. which was win a Bassmaster Classic. He's good at having the kids coming out to the weigh-ins and what he does on his social media. I mean, the dude is a freaking rock star. He's redefined and revolutionized the impact that you can have with your companies and in the sport.
Absolutely. And likewise, it could be good business to have him spend another year in the Opens before he makes it.
Yeah, but not for him.
Not for him, but I'm saying for Bass. Like, no,
mean,
but Scott's not going to, I mean, Scott doesn't need the Elite Series, right? Like, if he had to fish, I mean, it's not like he's going to, go broke.
Yeah,
I mean,
like, people are going to watch his videos because it's the Opens and not the Elite Series. But, dude, like, right. Scott wants to be on the dang Elite Series, Rich.
Oh, for sure. Oh, no, I get that. 100%. The only way I see maybe if he was, like, really close and they decided, well, we'll give Hackney a Legends exemption to roll down a spot or something like that because Hackney's an AOI, right? Like maybe, but he's got to be really close. Like there's no way that if he finishes like
because that's in the Easterns,
right? I'm just saying,
so like in the Centrals. But I also think that they want to keep that field size right at 100 and not balloon it. So let's say they don't cut any, and then they add another 12. Now you're up to 110 guys, and now you've got to cull it back down. So if you can save a couple of spots by having Hackney in number 2, I think they do that. I really think
he has to make it. I agree.
Yeah,
I think if you let Scott Martin in, then you look at the guys like, I mean, there's a bunch of guys: Hallman, Latimer, Upshaw, Blockett. Right? They're like, what the right?
Well, here's the other question:
what's the special
if you
treatment?
Let Scott Martin in, what are you saying to Drew Benton and Chris Aldane and Bill Lowen and those guys who stayed? And why do you have the Opens?
Exactly.
Yep, so, like I said, do I think it would be bad if he got on? Absolutely not. Would I blame Bass for doing it? No. Would I blame Scott for taking advantage of it? No. I think it's completely understandable and probably is the smart thing to do to get that man on the Elite Series no matter what. Yeah. But
and the people that go back to 3 years ago, like BPT dealt a major haymaker to Bass when they like split and gutted the field. And so Bass had to like weather the storm. And I think they more than have done that. And they're back on their feet, if not on the upper hand to some degree now.
Yeah. So, I don't think anything that happened, I don't think you can like go back, rationalize it. Anything that happened in 2018, you had a scramble for survival on everyone's part. You had the perfect storm that made a lot of disgruntled anglers towards the end of that last Elite Series season. Remember with that debacle that went on the Chesapeake and whether they cancel it and whether they reschedule it and everybody had practiced and then there was rumors of this. And I think it was just the catalyst for something that got kicked off a little early and then everyone went into scramble mode on all accounts. So I don't think you can look back and say, oh, well, you did this there. Like, I honestly don't think anyone really had a freaking plan. I think they're just going with this gets us through this week. This gets us through this week. This gets us through this week. So now you're starting to see that stuff settle out.
For sure.
And it's not unique to bass fishing. It's happened in lacrosse. It's happened in the professional rodeo circuit. It's happened. It's happening in tennis. It's happening in golf. I mean, there's it in almost every single individual sport. You will see this kind of fraction segmentation, changing different things. I mean, look at and sometimes it's been wildly successful. Like look at the PBR that split. I mean, there's a bunch of guys that ride in the PBR that aren't at the NFR finals right now. I mean, that was a segment fractured thing. I mean, it happens in everything. So it's not just like, oh my God, look what just happened in fishing. Like do a little research. You can just like Google it up and you're like, oh my God, there's like mass chaos in all these individual sports of player owners and leagues and guys who get banned and all this craziness that goes on. I don't know where we were going with that. That was
we were just talking about the elites and just kind of like, and so I think, and then people keep talking about legends exemptions.
Yeah, it's happening in surfing. Yeah, Eric says, yeah, it's happening in professional surfing.
There you go. So people keep talking about these legends. There's not that many people that qualify for the legend exemption. And most of them that do are like part owners in BPT. So like there's only a few, right? And I think I've heard this, I don't know if you've heard the same, that to take the legends exemption, you need to be like fishing bass I've heard, or they really would prefer that. Like, you notice that Polinick, Swindle, they all signed up for the Opens before they got accepted into their Legends exemption. So,
and then they both fished both divisions of the Opens the year after they got back. So I wish I didn't like brush off on the 2020 rules, but I know in the past for the Legend exemption, it first went to anglers who were active anglers competing at the Open level. Then if you didn't get to any Legends exemptions there, I think then it went to anglers who were still actively competing, or maybe then it went to number of classics and angler of the years combined. So like, I mean, if no one in the Opens was fishing it and Roland Martin sitting there with 9 anglers of the years, they're like, hey, Roland. And then it just kind of worked down that list, but definitely priority went to guys who are currently active in bass. Right.
And so, like, and a lot of people are talking about Ike, and I don't even know if Ike wants to. Like, it seems like he's in a really weird place right now. But so
Ike knows exactly where he is, Rich.
Right. Well, he does. That's a good point. He knows, but he's not letting it on. And it wouldn't shock me if he figured out a way, or if he wanted to. I mean, I think they would take him if he wanted to.
What would you give your percentage? What is your percentage that Mike Iaconelli is on the Bassmaster Elite Series when things kick off?
That's a good question, because like you said, he knows where he wants to be, and he knows where he wants to be.
I'm asking your opinion, just as a
fan, but I'm just saying, like,
because
it's a little bit clouded, because would I like to see him? Yes, but I'm not so sure that he doesn't want to devote his time to his other ventures, right? I don't know. Maybe I don't know where his head's at. To me, it's 50-50. But
that's good.
What about you? What do you think?
I'll go 50-50 with you.
Oh, nice. Lay up. But he's hard to read. It wouldn't shock me either way if he like decides he's going to go all in on doing these, like, video deals and TV type series, and he probably could make a lot more money honestly doing that than he could fishing the Elite Series. But Matt, the Cox Elite schedule, I talked to Matt in the pre-show. Neither one of us studied to see if there's any conflicts, but we're guessing there probably is.
That's not going to happen.
But if there's a way, I'm sure he'll figure it out. This is heavy here. With all the fracturing in fishing, does Matt think there's a path forward in order to grow the sport of fishing?
We don't want to get into the grow the sport.
You can go back and watch the last 6 weeks of BTL replays. We talk about growing the sport.
I went on a massive off-air rant with Mark about that. You want the Cliff Notes version of it? I mean, dude, sure. I think about this stuff a lot. Here's a Cliff Notes version of it. So growing the sport means taking people who are not involved in the sport, introducing them to the sport, and then making them participate in that sport on a regular basis. Would you not agree?
Participate or become an engaged fan.
Which leads to participation.
Well, it doesn't have to be. Like, you could, like, fantasy football is a good example of an engaged fan that follows closely but doesn't. I mean, I'm just saying,
okay,
like, there could be other ways.
What value is there an engaged fan if they're not bringing money into that resource then? An engaged fan is more likely like an NFL guy. You get him into the NFL, what's he going to do? He's going to ask for a Seahawks hoodie for Christmas.
Right.
He's going to download the sports package so his fantasy team is better. So he's still spending money on that, right?
Right. But it may not be buying Senkos. It can be spending money. But, yeah, you need to spend money towards the sport in some way, whether it's a service or
buying a license,
apparel, whatever. Yep.
Anything. So here's my thing. So I said this to Mark off air. I said, this is bugging me, Mark. I said, when you got into bowling as a kid, I said, did you just say, you know what, I like bowling. I saw it in the newspaper. I saw it on TV. Mom, take me down to the bowling alley. I want to learn how to bowl. And then you went down there and you were by yourself and you started bowling. And then you got good and you joined a league. He's like, yeah, that's kind of how it went. I said, really? I said, there wasn't anybody in your bowling life, like a mentor or something? He's like, oh, yeah. He said, I went by myself and I didn't know what I was doing. And then this guy came up the second time and he was my mentor in bowling. And he's the one who kind of taught me how. I can't remember his name. What Mark said. And I said, so you had a guy who once you got that initial thing, he was your mentor. He took you under your wing, right? And he said, yeah. I said, okay. So I said, if you really want to grow the sport, I said it has nothing to do with it doesn't have anything. Like the only first step is to get them to go fishing once. But if you really care about growing the sport, you need to take that kid who obviously can't cast a Zebco 33 and his bobber's on upside down and he's using a hot dog on the bank when you launch your boat. You need to take him and become his mentor then, because that's a kid who's going to go once or twice. There's no one around. He doesn't have anyone. He's not going to catch anything. And he's going to go, this sucks. Even if he saw it on TV and Ike going Ike and Kevin catfishing and all that. If you're really interested in growing the sport, find those kids or find those people or your buddy. It could be your neighbor or something. Take them under your wing and become their mentor. So growing the sport then has to do with taking the people who have an interest and then taking them under your wing and growing it that way by teaching them about it, not just introducing them to it. You see what I'm saying there? Like that's where the true growth of the sport is in creating a meaningful connection with someone who knows nothing about it.
Right. And so really, I mean, like, so yes, like you could argue like getting on Fox, getting on Discovery is good. But if guys like us don't help them, right?
Right.
Like,
it's a multi-step process.
Right. Yeah. Or the
like
kids
the
don't
Fox
get in.
introduces it, but then if you as a bass angler, and that goes back to you, every time a guy wins a classic, someone asks them, what do you feel like your responsibility or duty is as a classic winner now? And you'll have guys who will say, you know, I really want to do this, this, and this. I want to represent the anglers. I want to do this. I want to, and you'll have other guys that'll be like, what do you mean? It's a freaking bass tournament. I'm going to cash my check and I'm going to go do the same thing again and try to win it
Disney
again.
World.
Yeah, you know what I mean? So it's just kind of individual on each angler. But I mean, that growing the sport takes place at the grassroots level once the initial introduction is made. Because otherwise you have a bunch of people who go do it. Well, like, okay, like if I like golf, I saw golf, I wanted to golf. I went to the putting green 2 or 3 times when I was 12 years old. There was a doctor who was on the putting green who was like, hey man, like, what's your deal? And I was like, I don't know. I want to golf. And my dad showed up to pick me up and he's like, hey, I'll teach your kid how to golf. Man, that's why I love golf now. Because that guy saw me at the putting green. I mean, I suck at it, but it's a passion. I spent hundreds of hours golfing at great times because that dude was on the putting green, you know, practicing for the Thursday night men's league. And I was a 12-year-old that didn't have anyone to teach me.
Yeah.
He got me into the sport. He helped grow the sport of golf.
Yeah. It's more about passing knowledge, whether it's like you're taking them fishing, you do like things like Fluke Master have done, things like the Googans have done, where they've really breaking it down at the basic level. So people, like, if they don't know somebody, there are resources on the internet, YouTube, things like that, to get enough to maybe be successful in one of your first times fishing. Yeah, that's the kind of stuff that grows the sport for sure.
Like growing the sport, like any type of growth takes energy, right? So like look at a plant, look at anything. Like growth takes a whole lot of energy and focused energy. Because like everything is like chaos and disintegration. To actually like grow something takes an immense amount of energy in the perfect conditions. So like, yeah, it's a slow process that takes, if you truly care about growing it, it's not like, boom, we're on Fox, the sport has grown. No, the freaking seed is planted. Then it's up for the people who are in it to grow it from there.
Yeah. So do you,
my opinion.
Tin Horse Money asks, do you think YouTube grows the sport? Yes or no?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. YouTube grows the sport because that's taken the place of a surrogate mentor in many cases. I mean, look at it. So like the hardcore tournament videos, let's take Brandon's videos. Like Brandon's videos kick ass, right? Sorry, I don't know. Can we say that on your channel, Rich? Did you just lose live stream dollars? Oh, you are drinking. What are you drinking, by the way? Is that a Northern deal?
It's a Grain Belt Premium Light.
Never heard of that.
It's tasty.
What is that like similar to? Something.
It's just a lager. It's like a domestic lager.
So Brandon's videos, awesome. What, 30, 40,000 views on that? Like a how to tie a Palomar knot video. Like go look at those videos. Those have hundreds of thousands of views. That's like the surrogate mentorship right there.
Like I really like the Hallman High. Like Bradley's,
yeah, absolutely.
The high school fishing, like that's the kind of stuff, like
100%. But just the basics and stuff have tons of freaking views. How to rig a Texas rig. What a Carolina rig is.
Yeah, there's a ton of channels. Like, you know, we're really bass heads, but like every once in a while, just because I'm like interested in the whole YouTube thing, I'll go look at these like fishing channels, and there's guys that just fish off the bank. Way more
views because that's
more views because
that's like, their surrogate mentor, because they can relate to that, because they've gone and fished off the bank and gone, damn, I don't know how to catch a fish off the bank, but here's someone who's catching a fish off the bank that I can learn from.
Saltwater drum, if it's a catfish,
exactly, they just want their string stretched. Absolutely. Exactly. We're like in this vortex that's so tournament bass fishing, tournament bass fishing, tournament bass fishing, and you don't even realize how centric it is, how small it is, what a small field of people you're impacting. I mean, to get good at something, you have to do that. I mean, you have to be totally like that. But I mean, there's a whole nother world of people who bass fish out there who don't understand any of that. I mean, dude, there's a ton of people who don't even know how guys get in the Bassmaster Classic.
Oh yeah. I mean, I one thing I've gotten so many questions like, how did you get to the Vermilion Regional, Rich?
Yeah.
Like, yeah. Fighters FGNet videos for the basics.
No, I see. Any jig that's Aaron Martin's not tying is not a basic YouTube video.
If you have to take your shoes off and get your tongue wet, like that's not a basic video. So we were talking about the points a little bit.
Yeah, how did we get to that? That was.
Well, then we started talking about like, exemptions and all that kind of stuff. So a bunch of guys didn't catch them that were at the top of the list today.
Oh yeah, on Lay Lake. That's what we were
on Lay Lake. About. That's what we were about to talk about. Because like they did update the points right after.
They did 100%. So in the Eastern Opens, Patrick Walter still leads, Justin Atkins, Patch Slapper, Joshua Trisner, and then Brian New is in 5th. But the overall Angler of the Year totally flipped, where Christie and Frazier, who were either 1-2 or 1-3, dropped to 5 and 6, and then Brian New, who we all knew would be a force to be reckoned with, and then Justin Atkins, Matt Robertson, and KJ Queen are in the top 4 now. That's a lot of pressure. I mean, there's not much pressure for Jason Christie or Frazier because they're both in the Centrals, but
a lot of pressure for Daryl Gleason to be watching from the sideline.
Yeah, I've been actually texting with him. He's actually fishing the Toyota Championship on Cumberland. So he won't even be able to look at his phone tomorrow.
Right. Like no bass track for him. So Matt Robertson's got like a 25-point lead on 4th in a 40, almost 35-point. So that's not.
But God, man, this stuff swings so much, especially on a lake where you got 60 guys with 10 pounds. And like,
I'm just saying, like he's off to a decent start. If he can go out and catch another 10, 11 pounds tomorrow, he locks it up.
He's a beast, man. Remember how he came up? He was the weekend series champion.
No, I think he was the team champion.
The team champion, I mean. Yeah. To where what they did when they took the weekend series away or something, they added that team, and then you got to go to the national championship, and then you basically fish against your buddy, and you send.
That's just gotta. Can you imagine how awkward that is?
No, but that basically it was a carrot, right? I mean, that was the carrot that Bass had, was we'll give it to the team. And I remember Mark and I on BTO were like, oh, this is cheap. It's the whatever. You're going to end up with this weekend series guy. It's the Bassmaster Classic. Give it to another guy on the Elite Series. But, dude, like that was our initial introduction to Matt Robertson. And then, I mean, look where he's gone with that. Mm-hmm. He's got a whole line of apparel. He's got fur jackets.
Got the autumn hat.
Yeah, and you know, he won. He's in the Classic again. He's definitely competing on that. So I mean, that's a really cool deal. Like to qualify multiple different ways for multiple different Classics, and then most likely end up on the Elite Series next year. For a dude that we were all like, what is this guy's deal? And then you get to know him, you're like, that's who he is. I think he would be a great addition to the Elite Series. I could definitely see like a E60 feature on Matt Robertson.
Yeah, I talked
or whatever their Fox Sports one is.
Pickwick, because he was fishing the Bass Nation too.
Yeah, he was.
And he drew the Minnesota Co. or my That's right. The Minnesota coach drew him for the first day. He's pretty excited. But yeah, like for you guys that are big Scott Martin fans, he's got a mountain to climb tomorrow. He's got to like gain 30 points tomorrow.
Yeah, that's look
Well,
at
Pat Schlopper's double qualified, so but still, like, well, Brian New might be double qualified. So six, yeah, so he's only got like, okay. So realistically, he's got to get so Walters doesn't count.
Walters
Schlopper,
doesn't count.
New.
Atkins could double qualify. Schlapper or Atkins will double qualify.
Okay.
Schlapper doesn't count.
That far out.
Tracner, Brian New would double qualify. Hamner would be number 2. How do you say his name? Herbert?
Rebar.
Rebar?
Andy Rebar. He's from Minnesota.
Oh, well, I learned something tonight. And then Andy Wicker would be number 4. This is as
he's actually right. Yeah, okay. He's actually pretty close.
If it stays as it is, he's only like 2 points out. I think
because of double qualifications.
Yeah, he does 10 pounds tomorrow. He's gold.
There'd be a lot of sweating though, unless he catches them.
He'll catch him. It's Scott Martin, dude.
Didn't you beat him at Louisville?
Dude, don't even. You thought I went on a rant on that. Let me get on my rant on people when you try to compare beating someone in one tournament.
In a single event. No, yeah.
Yeah, that's an absolute.
So just here's another tip. It's Schlopper.
Schlopper.
Yeah. So like an O.
He's a northern dude too, right?
He's from Wisconsin. And so you're going to be talking about him, I think, next year a lot. So that's Schlopper. So you can look like the smart one on PTO.
Schlopper. All right. Yeah, you don't know. You can't learn. I mean, if you're a coherent bass fisherman, you have the potential. That's the beautiful thing about this sport. If you're a competent bass fisherman, you have the potential to beat the number 1 in the world at any given day. Now, if you're going to bet money on it, do it in a one-off. Don't ever do a best of 3 or best of 5 or best of 7.
Yeah, for sure. No, it's fun to give somebody or jab somebody or just talk about that one time, but in reality, it means nothing, right? Like, it's no different than golf, right?
No, like it's totally different than golf. Totally different.
No,
yeah, it is. There's 0% chance that I would ever beat Justin Thomas
or
Tiger Woods
it's just,
or anything like that.
What I was thinking is like, if you like on the tour level, right? Anybody can.
No, not even that. I don't think there's really any way that a guy who fishes, I mean, maybe 1 out of 100 times a guy who's potentially has PGA Tour caliber could beat Tiger Woods. We'll take Tiger at his prime, but in fishing, like that, Tiger, 100% would happen.
Right.
100% you fish against.
Because there's so many more things too. Like you've got blowing a lower unit, throwing an ear, spinning a hub,
losing fish. They don't bite. They move.
Right.
Like I guarantee you, if any competent bass angler fishes make a wheeler 20 times, they're going to beat them once.
Right. For sure. Because it's like he could have found everything and like you pull up and there's a local there fishing shiners anchored on your best spot. There's so many.
You roll into something where you jack 2 5s on a whopper plopper in the first 10 minutes.
Or you just fish by the landing and they had a jackpot tournament and they released 2 boatloads of fish there the weekend before and they all started biting.
That's why consistency, longevity, and championship and making championship events is why it's so respected in this sport, because that's your true test of your staying power.
Yeah, there's a lot of people watching my stream that are friends of mine and myself pulling for Andy Rebar. He's a good dude. He's cool. He fishes in the Minnesota Bass Nation. So
I will have to I'll have to do some more homework on him.
So I think he's a couple years into the Opens now. I think 2 years maybe. So, whoa. All right. What else were we talking about? Let's check a couple Instagram questions. We had some good ones. All right.
God. We're going to the Instagram questions.
We're going to the Instagram questions.
All right.
Like we talked, like how does Panger live the lavish lifestyle that he lives and makes all the money that he makes? I embellished that question a little bit, but
yeah, it's basically how do I make money at this?
Like how do you make a living?
Yeah, that's a good question. So I've pretty much done everything you can do in the industry. I started out as an intern at Bass Zone straight out of college. And Jeffries was like, hey, like I'll pay you enough to where you can eat beanie weenies for a year.
Robin?
And yeah, I worked my way up on that. I've managed pro staffs, pro teams. I've done worked for different companies providing content for them on the road. I've worked for different anglers providing content for them on the road. I've written for numerous magazines and websites and edited for that. I've shot photos. I've edited videos. Then I wrote for 5 or 6 years, 3 or 4 articles a week for the Bass Zone, and then incorporated that into BTL, the podcast. And now I get paid to do the podcast, BTL, and supplement that with fishing income, some side gigs, just meeting contacts along the way where you can do some stuff to supplement it on the side, and then sponsors for fishing the opens is how I make my money. It's so far up in the 6 figures, you'd be shocked, Rich. I mean, it's approaching, it's
super lucrative.
Yeah, like I only put premium in the Lambo.
Yeah. That and all your poker winnings, right? On top of that?
Yeah. I actually haven't played poker a lot recently. Obviously all the poker rooms are closed here, but actually we played a little bit of poker at the Bass Nation Regional on Toledo Bend. Yeah, I won one of the nights. That was the only thing that went well for me that weekend. Helped offset the cost of the imploded lower unit.
Nice. So speaking of that, so if BTL ended suddenly, let's say a tree falls on the studio and Mark's like, I'm not buying all this stuff again. Like, what's your career path if BTL just stopped? That was a question on Instagram.
So this is a true story. So when I was 13 years old and I did in the Casting Kids deal, I got like interviewed, and I just remember this because a couple years ago, my mom and dad used to have a cassette, like a VCR, like the thing that you put in with the actual tape on it. And they were like, oh, look at this. And it was like, oh, I'm going to work in the fishing industry. If I'm not a fisherman, I'm going to work in the fishing industry. And that was when I was 13 years old. And then I did it straight out of college. So I slid lumber in between years.
Nice.
I played junior hockey for a couple years. So when I came home for the summer, I would slide lumber. And other than that, I've been in the fishing industry, and that's it. I mean, I haven't ever really considered anything outside of it.
So you would just like do video content, you'd write, you'd fish tournaments, you would just keep doing what you're doing and just take on different gigs.
Yeah, no, I don't know. I would I think there's a lot of opportunities. I think there's a lot of like underutilized opportunities in the industry. The thing about the fishing industry is it gets saturated really quick. And I think it's like that in a lot of other sports that it's fairly easy to freelance in.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I mean, it's hard to break into like the NFL because you have so many that are established and you have so many ad stream revenues. But like in a small niche sport like fishing, it's difficult to have non-endemic sponsorship on there's not a, there's Barstool Outdoors, but there's not like a, NFL Network and stuff and all these. It's not like there's not enough people that care about it. So what you end up, I think, having is a lot of people who are just happy to make some money in it. And then it dilutes the pool because something that should cost $1,000, well, you've got 4 people that are doing it and 3 of those people are happy that they're there and they're willing to do it for $200. So it's really hard to make, I guess, your
living
worth. Yeah. Your worth. So then I've gotten to the point where it's like in some things where it's just like, well, I'm not going to do that because I feel like the value is X and the current value is Y. So I could do all this, but I'm not going to do it unless I get X. So I ended up just not doing it anymore. It's hard to make a living in this, just kind of freelancing, nitpicking back and forth. You have to have a couple solid revenue streams. It's a lot like fishing, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
Every year you have your sponsors that re-up. You've got your big sponsors, your boat, your motor, maybe your oil and gas non-endemic that pays all your entry fees. It's the same when you work in the industry too. But I don't know.
Yeah.
I mean, you listen to BTL. What do you think I'd be good at outside the fishing industry? I've never really even thought about that. Not that I'm good in the fishing industry. I've been at it for a while.
You're making it at this point.
Yeah.
That's all you can. That's pretty good. That's
I
better
don't
than a
know.
lot of people.
I have no idea.
I'm not your guidance counselor. I don't know, Panger.
I know. I need a guidance counselor too. That's the problem. I've needed one for about the last 12 years.
So Tin Horse says, what do you think is the most challenging thing about making content for YouTube? Because on part of this, right, you also produce like your tournament content and that kind of stuff. What do you you can
figuring out something
content.
different. Yeah. Figuring out something different. It's been that number one. Like, so the one thing that I've done with 12, 13 years with Mark Jeffries is as soon as we do something, he's already like, okay, what's next? So like I said, it gets saturated really quick in this industry. So like right now I'm already trying to think, how are my videos going to be different than next year? So I did the Aftco Bass boot camp in 2019. I changed it up a little bit this year, but there's like 15 guys that are doing the same thing I'm doing. So right now, I mean, I try to add in a little bit different stuff. I try to talk more. I try to do a little different effort, but like music in the background, tournament fishing, giving a midday update, showing your fish at the end of the day and doing it. Like, okay, what's the difference then? Yeah, I've got my personality and me and people who follow me on BTL, but really put a different face on it. And there's 20 other guys that are doing the same thing. So I'm trying to think, what can I do next year in my videos that are going to be a little bit different? And that's a Mark Jeffries thing. We always try to add different stuff. Like we're on the BTL marketplace next month. We're doing the 20 feet deep features that we always did, how we do the on location coverage, the live coverage. Like I did those one-on-ones. We did the one-on-one lives, and I did like the edited one-on-ones. Then, you know, a lot of other people started doing those. So I stopped them after 3. Like it's a constant progression of trying to figure out something more. And if BTL show, I mean, like longevity, consistency, and constant innovation are 3 things that, you know, people appreciate that'll kind of always allow you to have an edge in this industry, in any industry, even though I don't know any other industry. Yeah. Which we just established.
Yeah, I think the other thing that's a key ingredient, and this goes outside of fishing, is is like creating a connection with your audience, right?
Yeah.
Like, and however you can do that, like you have to be able to like. That's the big difference between any other tournament video and maybe what somebody does is if you can build that connection with your audience either through your personality, through storytelling, through editing, through something that like gets them to connect and have that emotional response that makes them an engaged fan.
Yeah, right? I agree. So, and if you're yourself, it's going to be unique because obviously no one is, and even if it's along that same premise. But I mean, I'm obviously myself in my videos because my reaction when I'm excited is not what I would have planned, not at all how I would plan it to be if I was trying to come off as a cool customer.
Yeah, that's what's cool.
My voice gets super high. I don't know why. Like it's always like, oh my gosh.
That's the raw part. That's the I don't know. That's the stuff you need to keep. Well, you'd be a crappie guide. We know that, right?
Yeah, yeah. Oh, I would. You know, if I wasn't in the professional fishing industry, I'd probably be a guide.
I think Matt asked about 20 feet deep, and I guess I've heard you guys cover this many times. You guys are basically looking for somebody that would want to back it. And if there is, then you guys would do more. One of those
things that I think it's worth X, not going to do it for Y. Like, dude, you get hundreds of hours into 120 feet deep. Yeah. Would not do it. I mean, I would love to do them. I like doing them. I think there's intrinsic value in it. But like, you know, at this point, if I'm going to put that much effort into it, man, gotta be worth the while.
So somebody asked about ice fishing in Minnesota. Are you coming up here? Is there
yeah, so that's the plan. So I've talked a little bit with like Adam Bartuzek, who's up there. So we had he actually kind of put me on like Sam Sobey, who did all the stuff with like the Guggen squad and stuff. So he was this this is a true story here. So I didn't like know anything about that, like about the ice fishing community up there. Like it's like this cult deal. I've watched all these videos. It's like big league. There's like thousands of people. They're sponsored and stuff. And like, I mean, it's like a big. No, I watched one video. I mean, there's thousands of people who do it.
But like, you're saying like I thought you were saying competitive. No, there's
just ice fishing.
No, there's
like it's like
tens of thousands of people that ice fish.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. And like a lot of them watch Sobey's stuff. Yeah. Like he's like a well-known dude. Like I was watching, it's just like, hey, come by here and get Sobey's autograph. Well, I didn't know that. He's on the show. I thought he just like filmed some stuff, fish the opens. I'm like, hey man, I want to come up and ice fish. And he's like, oh, okay, yeah, sure, come up. Then Adam's like, yeah, Sobey like makes all of his money this time of year, and he's like really hard to get a hold of, and he's kind of a big deal. He's like, but we can get you hooked up. So I'm gonna head up there. I'm super jacked. I think I'm gonna end up going up there like mid-December, like after Table Rock for a couple of days. I have no idea what to expect. I've been watching a ton of videos. I don't have the right shoes. They always fish on their knees. I do not know how to read a flasher. I hope they have some other.
What do you mean? David Fritz explained it to you. Don't you remember?
I know he explained it to me, but I'm watching like Sobe's videos and all that. But he's like, oh, look at all these fish down here. And I mean, this thing is just like going nuts. Like I'd be tapping on it going, hey, the flasher's malfunctioning. And he's like, oh, there's one, there's one. It must be like what someone looks like when they look at live scope and have never seen it before. And you're just like freaking out. So it's 100% a learning experience. Will be a learning experience, but I'm super jacked for it. Like, I mean, they're fighting the fish. They're like, oh, I got to be careful. This is 2-pound test. And I'm like, what? My question is, how does the line not get broken, like, when it touches the ice underneath it? So, like, if you get a fish who run, like, how does it not just break on the bottom of the ice every single time?
I don't know, because does it happen? Yes, but it must smooth off on the bottom. I don't know, but I would think with the auger, I've done it. I just haven't ice fished in like since college, which was like 20 years ago. I've always wanted to, and I've always been super pumped. So I think I'm going to go up and hang out with Adam and do some pan fishing and whatever else. Like, even if I don't catch anything, my goal is to probably do BTL live from the ice one day. Nice. But never done it before. Like, I don't even know how to drill a hole. It's pretty. You get yourself a K drill, and then those guys. If you're, I don't know where you guys are gonna go, but like those guys, where they're from, New Prague is not too far from me. So. Yeah,
I would imagine ice fishing, like the location's like pretty secret, right?
Can be. It's just like, I mean, one thing about up here is fishing little lakes gets pretty secretive, right? Because they're kind of small and fragile. It's like in Oklahoma, we only got like 12 lakes, like major lakes. Like, nobody tries like, oh, I caught them on Grand. Okay, go ahead. Grand's this enormous lake, right? But like when you say, oh, I caught these 13-inch crappies out of this 400-acre lake, then that's bad.
And then can't you just like go there and be like, oh, there's a hole there.
Right, and you can see where the holes are. Yeah, like you can see the old holes. Yeah,
it'd be like if you had a waypoint that just like hung in the air everywhere you caught them on Grand.
Yeah, so the only thing you can do is all you can do is bring every stitch of warm Aftco clothing you have, and that's about, you just show up.
Oh yeah,
you'll have everything else.
Warm. I'm sure they'll take care of me, but super pumped.
The feet are the tough thing. You have to ask maybe if they have any boots in your size.
Dude, I've got the #1 boot ever is North Face, and they make this waterproof insulated hiking boot. I'm on my second pair. And the last 10 years, and like my feet haven't been cold since I got them.
See, I get that, but that's like 20 to 30 degrees standing on a carpeted boat deck or on ground.
Well, yeah, not 2 feet of ice underneath it.
When you're standing on the ice, sometimes those don't have thick enough soles to keep your feet warm.
Yeah, in those videos, they strap stuff on the bottom of their feet.
Yeah, that's only early, before they get snow on the ice, which might be before when you come up here. That's just more.
So I want to ice skate from hole to hole.
You can do that. You can bring your skates.
Yeah.
If it's
I
good,
haven't had my skates on in a year and a half.
If it's good, clean ice, you can definitely skate on the ice. And we don't have much snow, so that might be an option. You might want to throw them in just for fun. You can skate from tip up to tip up.
There we go.
Chase the flags on your, was it the Ice Pro something? Those new, and it's not, but well, maybe if you're not too far from me, maybe I'll come over and drink a beer and watch you ice fish.
For sure, I'll have one of those. What are they called?
I'll bring the Grain Belt Premium Light.
Where is that based? It looks like
it's a Minnesota. It's a Minnesota.
You guys have a ton of Minnesota beers.
But yeah, all right. That's my ice fishing. That's more ice fishing than I want to talk about.
I've got the muck boots. Muck boots are awesome when you're cleaning horse stalls.
There you go. I don't feel like they keep your feet warm on the ice.
They probably wouldn't.
Well, why are you so anti-jersey? Somebody wants to know, Matt.
I am not anti-jersey. I just have not had anyone say, hey, we want you to wear a jersey. Is what it comes down to. And
I'm kind of the same way. I don't like. I think part of it goes back to you, right? Like, unless somebody is actually specifying based on a deal you have that they want a jersey, there's too many people that are wearing jerseys and logos for not enough.
And it's super comfortable and easy. If I have a contract that says we're paying you this amount and we expect you to wear, you know, and I ask about it and I talk about it and it just has not, I'm not anti-jersey. I'm sure at some point, hell, it might be this year. I might have a jersey. I've worn them in the Bass Nation stuff. I have no problem doing that because of the incentives that it gives to your state if you win and things like that. I wore them in college for University of Oklahoma, but I just don't have one.
No, but that's the thing. There's too many people that feel like they need a jersey just to have a jersey.
Yeah, yeah. It's kind of like, I don't know. To me, it's kind of like the rat boat deal. Like I remember the first couple times you see a rat boat, you're like, oh god, that guy's gonna smash him. He's in a wrapped boat. And then you realize that like whether you're wearing a jersey or not, or your boat's wrapped or not, like that's nothing to do with catching fish.
That's for sure. All right, now we covered the Instagram question. So any this is your chance to ask questions to like, you know, all you people that complain about Mark not reading the instant feedback on BTL, you can ask those questions now, and I promise you I will read them. Did you stop? Oh. Michael wants to know if you stopped dipping.
That's one of the things I'm working on. Yes.
Good for you. You got to cut your expenses on the opens. You start cutting out those dips.
Yeah.
It starts.
It's hard on tournament days.
Yeah.
Let's see.
I have quite a few buddies that are. They were pretty heavy dippers that have gone to pretty casual dippers, and they only do it when they're drinking or when they're fishing.
Bertrand Smoky Mountain is really good stuff. I use that a lot. That's stuff that Josh Bertrand sponsored by. And then Cliff Crochet, just as he's with Whitetail now.
Okay. Yeah, if there's any guys questions that I missed, go ahead and just repost them quick. Let's see, just comments here. Corey said, I'd like to see more videos about tourney prep and work required in the days leading up. That's what I try to do. There's a lot of those out there, though. I mean, a lot of guys are doing that. So it's hard to get – there's a lot of good content, and it's hard to get noticed, I think, doing that content. How does
I tend to not do a whole ton of a lot of that stuff because – I don't know. I'm just I kind of like use that time just to like get dialed in on it, and then I feel like, you know, like a Brandon Polinick or someone like that. He's like, hey, I've won like Anglers of the Years and 6 Elite Series tournaments. Like, here's why I'm doing this. Like, I'm still like feeling my way through that. So, I mean, if I don't have like, I mean, I have no like I got a lot of questions on why I use like a spring lock hook at Neely Henry on that BFE for 2 fish. And I was like, do I want to do something? Do I want to not do something on that? But really it was just like, I'm not sure I even had a good reason why. Like I just tied that sucker on.
Right. Yeah. And a lot of stuff you have a other outlet. A lot of that stuff gets captured during the week on BTL too. So, So, John, how does Steve Kennedy make money without sponsors? He does have sponsors. He's picky on his sponsors. He wants to make sure he gets his Y value, not his X value. And
he's more picky about his time too.
Right. He values.
The big thing with the sponsors is the 8 to 10 sponsor days that he could spend.
His kids, family,
hunting crawfish with his kids in a creek.
Josh says, will you give Rich your address if someone wants to send you an ice rod?
Shoot me an email, matt@basszone.com.
There you go. Let's see here. Dun, dun, dun. What does SA stand for in the BFE color?
South Africa Special.
Okay. Somebody thinks you could have been a radio DJ. Do you have a favorite angler besides me?
You're my favorite angler, Rich. No.
It's tough where you're at. I mean, you have a lot of guys you like, but to say you have a favorite angler would be.
I also don't have a least favorite angler. So it's easy.
There's like 10, right?
Yeah. I haven't developed any rivalries yet. I'm waiting to have my first rivalry.
Ooh, like it. Have you tried the hybrid hunter yet?
No.
Or I considered.
I figured. I thought I needed. I probably should have gotten it for Raver.
Yeah, I bought a couple of the Swanks from 6 Cents, which are supposed to be pretty much the same thing, and I threw them a little bit around Pickwick. They did come through the hydrilla really nice, but I literally fished through an area that I caught fish on a spinnerbait in practice and couldn't get a bite, and I just put it away for the rest of the week.
Should have pulled it out for 20 minutes, Rich.
Maybe I should have pulled it out on day 2. There you go. That was the should have listened to Todd. Here's a good question. This is a good one. Will the BFE ever be available in 1099? And why isn't it available?
So the BFE was a bit of a experiment, to say the least, with allowing primarily Brad and myself to design a new bait, capture the whole process on YouTube. I don't think a lot of people realize how much it costs to bring a bait to production. So you're talking the aluminum molds, the process that it takes to not only just make a one-shot mold, but then to make the production mold on a bait that's unproven, designed by guys who have never designed a bait. Granted, Brad has the 2 tour wins and the Costa wins and years on the Elite Series and years on the FLW Tour, approaching $1 million in career earnings. He's pretty damn good. But as far as designing baits, and, it just, he hadn't done it, neither had I. So we designed this thing and they kind of did the whole process. So the average number of colors that you come up with is 8. And with kind of designing the whole process through both of our social medias and kind of following it on BTL and talking a lot about it, we added a 9th color, which would be the Bedlam color, which is an orange flake on one side and a red flake on the other, a crimson flake, Boomer Sooner, like the Bedlam series that we ran in a color contest. And then the 10th color was the BTL color with the black and green, similar to the BTL. So that's why you had the 10 colors, which is actually 2 more than originally are in the 8. When they came out with the Fighting Frog way back in the day, which is, historically their #1 selling bait. It's an incredible bait that Dean Rojas designed a long time ago. It was an 8 color deal, and then they just continued adding colors to it as the demand rose. So as that bait continues to sell and becomes popular, there'll be more colors that are added to that lineup.
Yeah, I always just think 1099 should be like
for a simple answer.
It's a good answer, but no, I think like when I go to a new lake and I don't know what's going on, like 1099 is the first color I pick up, or tramp stamp or whatever. Like, people want to know, when are the BFE and or the swim on going to be ready in the bulk packs?
I have no idea. That's a big bite question.
They want to know how much pull you want and can you make that happen, is what they said.
No, I have no pull on whether or not they're available in the bulk packs or not. And actually, like when you see Brad with the bulk pack of them, those aren't like coming in the bulk packs. That's like an empty bulk pack that they give us. And then like we get the BFEs, like a couple handfuls of them, and then put them in the bulk packs.
Right.
Unless Brad's on some bulk pack deal that I don't know about.
He might be. He's special.
He might be holding out on me.
Maybe he's been making some swing by the factory on those trips to Alabama he didn't tell you about. Okay.
Yeah, maybe. He was a little salty tonight, I'm not going to lie.
Yeah, he didn't have the best day. He's probably
well, he's catching limits. That's a thing, which is big. So I texted him. I got a chuckle out of it. And I couldn't tell whether he was being, I believe the word I'm looking for is facetious, or whether he was legit pumped. But I think he was. I said, dude, I just did the math. 19 pounds tomorrow, you have a legit shot of qualifying still. No BS, you're not out of this. And all he responded was, thanks for that math, with about 19 exclamation points. So I think that was a little bit of sarcasm in there potentially. So
yeah, way to make me feel good.
I was trying to, I mean, look, I was just trying to make it feel better.
That's how I would have felt if I would have had 3 more ounces at Pickwick. It would have been like, Rich, you only need 19 pounds tomorrow to make the Bassmaster Classic.
Like I said,
how's the fly swatter collection? I have no idea what that means. Do you know?
the fly swatter collection.
I don't know. I'm lost. All right, move on.
I'm sure there's something there.
I don't know. I watched a lot of DTL. If there was an inside joke, I missed it.
I'm sure there was that I'm not remembering right now.
I mean, if it was about cat sounds or something like that, then that would make more sense.
Oh, that goes old school. That's way back.
Yeah. I actually went and because I heard you guys talk about that in the best of, and then I went and found it and then re-downloaded it.
Oh, you did find it?
Yeah.
Is it as cool as I remember it? Is it as funny as I remember it being?
I don't know if funny is the right word, but
interesting. Debacle-ish.
When are you gonna fish with smallmouth crush?
There might be some stuff down the pipe depending on what the schedules look like next year. We'll leave it at that.
Is Travis entertaining the thoughts of the Opens next year?
Travis entertains thoughts of anything he can make money at fishing tournaments. The guy's fishing online tournaments in the middle of Lake Ontario, and it's 15 degrees outside. So
there you go.
If there's a tournament in his neck of the woods, smallmouth crush will probably fish it unless he has a very good reason not to, which has also been the case in the past.
Right. If he feels spurned or burned or scorned. Cool. All right. So I don't know. I think that covered most of the things I wanted to talk about tonight. Anything so you're going to try to fish all the Opens. You're kind of waiting on the schedule.
Yeah, waiting on the schedule to see what comes out with that. So, I mean, typically we do a lot of baits, but I don't have a lot of baits at the house. Most of the baits are at the storage unit. So,
well, I guess we didn't talk about a little bit fresh news today, and you guys don't have a show, right? We didn't talk about the schedule.
It's a solid schedule.
Yeah, I mean, just might as well give it a few minutes, right?
Yeah, solid schedule. A lot of rivers on that schedule. Like if you're Bill Lowen, you're like pumped. St. John's River, guys start out there, but it is a river. The
fairly
Tennessee
early
River.
That could be pre-spawn almost. I mean, there'll be betters, but there could be.
Well, that'll be just like the St. John's. Oh, yeah, they spawn like 12 months out of the year.
Yeah, I mean, there'll also be some bedding fish, but it might be a little.
Yeah, it just depends on what the eel
I feel like that's a
touch George looks like.
Touch earlier than they have been. Maybe I'm wrong.
Yeah, it should be good. Tennessee River, that'll be just like the classic. Red, flat sides, smallmouth will play. They got to be 18 inches. Sabine River.
Do you think the bigger field, 100 boats versus 50 changes that playing field at all?
No, not really.
Okay.
Because there's a lot of water you can fish down there.
Yeah.
I mean, I know it also gets small too, but I think there's a lot of options. There's like whole lakes that weren't playing in the classic. Remember, like Zaldane was one of the only ones who ran to one of the other lakes one of the days.
Mm-hmm.
Sabine River, we've been to Sabine.
And that's basically
they've been to Sabine.
They didn't get it in this year. The Chamber of Commerce has their money in. They're going back there.
Hopefully, on in that time of the year and they catch a fish more than a pound. Lake Fork, that'll be freaking awesome if they can hit it in April 22nd through 25th. That will probably be the tournament with the most boats on the lake in the history of the Bassmaster Elite Series because every single person goes down there for a week, the third week. April.
That should be because that's a little bit later than when Cobb won, right? Like a week or so.
Yeah, maybe. That'll be a freaking spawn.
So that should be really.
Spawn.
I'm just thinking like maybe they'll finally be out all the way or starting to get
out.
No,
they'll still be spawning big time.
Yeah. I was thinking maybe
unless something crazy happens, there'll be some post spawn fish, but they'll still be spawning that third week of April. Sometimes up here, I mean, it's only like 3 hours south of Norman.
I was just thinking like, depending how the weather is, it would be best if the first post spawn fish were really starting to get out at that time.
Yeah, that's a possibility, especially with as many of those big fish are. Big fish tend to spawn earlier.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Neely Henry in May, first week of May, it will show that Neely Henry does not suck.
Right.
Like there's a lot of good fish in Neely Henry. I saw him for a couple, like the one practice day I had in the open. There's like a lot of 3-pound spots in there. Yeah, and big largemouth too.
That will be an interesting one because with a slightly smaller field than an open, fishing it at a better time of the year than they normally would in an open, and not normally an Elite Series stop. That's kind of a fresh look, right?
Yeah, and there's numerous guys who have cut their teeth on that. That's a Matt Herron special right there.
Yeah.
Gunnersville in May.
What
were you gonna say about Neely Henry?
I was gonna say the Tennessee River's a little fresh. I know we have the Classic there, but that's, you know, as far as Elite Series, it's compared to the rest of the schedule, that's a little bit fresh.
This is the TVA year. Like,
right.
Remember there was like a year, like 2 years, or last year, was it even, or two, they didn't go to any TVA lakes, and everyone's like, why aren't you going to the TVA lakes? And they're just like, oh, you want TVA? Let's go back to back, Neely Henry, Gunnersville, and Pickwick. All on the TVA.
Well, and Neely Henry's not TVA.
It's in the same, it's the Coosa River.
Right.
But it's the same river systems in there.
Right.
Not the same, but I mean, they're all similar river systems. Like the Tennessee River.
But to Tennessee's, there's 3 TVA lakes.
Yeah.
Yeah. You basically got Ford, Loudon, Tellico, Lake Gunnersville, and Pickwick.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Neely Henry fishes like a river.
For sure.
Unless you get down to the lower end.
Lot more spots, more bank grass, different.
Yeah.
But
But you get up north, like up past where we took off, and it's like current. Pickwick, you know all about that one. That'll be a good one. And then Champlain,
those should be ledge tournaments. Like those should be offshore. May should be pretty good, like for people to find some like schools of fish. And the high end should be really good on that. Not everybody's going to maybe smash them, but the people that do will smash them. And same with Pickwick. Like you're going to have the haves and have-nots, I think, to some degree on those May and June tournaments. And then the Northern Swing is the Northern Swing. A little light, right? We only got 2. That's one unique thing, is only 2 events up north. They've been kind of doing like 3-ish.
No, they've been doing it's pretty much been a small half of the season's been up north. Because they'll throw in a Wisconsin or a St. Clair, and then 2 in New York.
Right.
So I like it. It's a grinder schedule with some highlights in it.
Yeah, it's kind of balanced, right? It's not all the way one way or the other, for sure.
I like it. It's a solid schedule. It had last year been as it was supposed to go. Both the FLW Tour and the Elite Series would have been magical as far as big fish weights and everything. Right. So I'm happy. I'm excited to watch this one. I mean, am I like going to lose sleep over the Sabine River? Absolutely not. I'm interested to see. There's a lot of guys who haven't fished the Tennessee River that time of year, because the majority of the field who fished it in the Classic that time of the year is no longer competing on the Elite Series.
Look for a guy like Brandon Lester to have a big event.
Yeah, I just said that to my buddy Dave Rush today. So this is the Brandon Lester schedule.
Brandon Lester's best chance to have an AOI.
This is Brandon Lester's best chance and Matt Herron's best chance to win like 4 of them. Throw Scott Canterbury in there too.
For sure. The one guy says your dad collects fly swatters.
Yeah, he collects everything. Antique soldering irons, old hay trolleys.
All the good stuff. Actually, I was driving back from Pickwick, and I pulled over near Decatur at a rest stop, and I was gonna like meet this other guy to go fishing like down by Carbondale.
Okay.
And I missed the turn, and I like found myself like 2 hours north, and I was like, I'm not turning around at this point. And I was like, almost like was gonna text you and like, are any of these lakes up here worth fishing, or should I just go home? But I was really gonna be cold in the morning. I was just like, I was tired. I was like, Matt, Neely Henry is the toughest on the Coosa chain, in your opinion?
It's the only one I fished around there, so I don't know.
I fished Logan Martin once for like a morning. It was pretty fun. Are you gonna have any Garmin units on your boat next year?
Yeah.
You gonna get live scope?
Yeah. Yeah.
You already have it now, right? Or you already have
I've had it for a year.
Crappie fishing. Have you tried it for bed fishing at all?
No.
For like deep.
I like the Lowrance. I use the dual. I use the Lowrance for all my other stuff, and they just have a dedicated live scope unit up front.
Sure. Do you think COVID factored into their scheduling decisions? It doesn't look like it to me.
No, I think I don't know. You're right. It doesn't. But I mean, there's not any new venues on there, and it would be a lot easier, having kind of talked to the guys who schedule it, to work with city planners and organizers who know what they're getting, know what they're expecting, than to go completely new.
Yeah, I thought I'd say location. Probably the COVID probably affected the locations more than the dates. Might be a fair way to look at it. That was one of the, and I think it affected the timing, right? Why is it so? They usually have the schedule out by now, right? So I think the fact that they're getting it so late is a big deal. I kind of thought that they might spread it out to give themselves more flexibility, but they don't. They really seem like they almost like pulled it forward more, which that surprised me. I thought it was going to be a little more spread out, give themselves more flexibility.
More towards the back end.
Yeah,
but they're going back to. I mean, dude, look at how tough it was spread out this year.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it was tough to catch him.
I didn't think they were going to go this far, but I thought they would maybe backload it or summer load it a little bit, just to maybe like for the vaccine and get people. Yeah, but I don't know. That's just where, but it doesn't look like
that's a fair point.
It'll be interesting. Maybe they'll do that with the Opens. Maybe the Elite Series will be front loaded and the Opens will be back loaded. I don't know. Maybe we won't start in January. Like if it feels pretty hard that we're going to have a Eastern Open in January, being that it's December 3rd right now, right?
Yeah, I don't think that's not gonna happen.
So maybe the Opens will be more backloaded because of COVID. We'll see. Because that's a lot harder for them to execute with the codes and the bigger fields, and like that's 100%. A bigger thing. So you might see that the Open schedule is more affected, but time will tell. Don wants to know what's your square bill rod?
Right now I'm just using a 7-foot medium heavy Denali lithium crankbait rod. I like that. That medium heavy I like in any crankbait rod with a square bill, because I mean if I'm throwing a square bill, I'm typically planning on getting bit where I have to get them out of something, pull them away from something, even if it's rock, and I want to just be able to move those fish. So that medium heavy still allows the feel, little give on it, but enough backbone to get them out and away from the rock or lay down.
2X hooks, bigger hooks.
Yeah, I use I've really started liking the short shank Amart nano-coated Gamakatsu G wires, not the finesse ones, but they're a little bit thicker. They're short shanks, and on a 1.5, those number 3s are lethal. A lot of confidence in those number 3s on a 1.5, and I also just think as a little bit smaller hook in diameter on that hook. So it's not like a beefy crankbait hook, but I think you get a little harder thump on your plug.
Yeah, I could have, Corey, but it was in the middle of the night, so that's why I didn't stack that Mike's Tackle World. Chris wants to know what kind of bass cat you're running and what year is it?
This year I ran a 2020 Bass Cat Lynx, and then the year before that I ran a Puma, and then I'm going back to a Puma in 2021, just for the simple reason that I fish a lot of docks, and that Lynx is, it's a wide boat. It's the widest that they've ever made. It's very, very stable platform for fishing. You can have two guys standing up front and everyone's like, oh, well, the bass cats are narrow. Yeah, well, you get the FTDs, which is the full team deck, and you can have both guys standing up front. The trolling motor is so far up front on the front hull of that you can have two guys standing, but man, you can do like snow angels on that Lynx deck.
You can both be up there and socially distance. That's what you're saying.
100%. Yeah, it's giant. Like you can climb in the rod. Like I love the boat, like everything about it. Just for my style of fishing, I like the Puma in the hull and how kind of quick and a little bit
being nimble.
More nimble it is. Yeah. I guess if I really wanted to go full out, maybe I'll do that next year. I'll get that era. But I really like the Puma as well. So I put like almost 200 hours on that Lynx this year, on the engine on that Lynx. So it feels like home. I was afraid it's like a really deep boat, right? So the cockpit's really deep in it. And I was afraid that I would just like do a Greg Louganis off the front deck, but man, it's super easy to navigate. I really got comfortable in that thing.
Nice. So do you sell that or
yeah, they sponsor BTL, so they're like a big supporter of BTL.
Right, but I'm saying but you're not trying to put that
it runs through BTL. So I don't have to sell it.
So you don't have to be out here pushing your boat like most pros.
No,
like, yeah,
no, but I do have a boat to push. If we're in the pushing the boat, if anyone's interested in a 2007 ZX 190, that's been magical. 150 Yamaha carbureted, 82-pound thrust motor guide, a Helix 7 up front and an 1197 in the back. Garage stored, but the seats are a mess. The carpet's a mess, and it's got one fiberglass gouge and about 4 scratches, and haven't started in a year. First person to bring me $8,500, it's theirs.
So if you're looking for a good project starter boat,
it's an amazing project starter boat, and it's way below what those things are going for right now. I just need to get rid of that thing. It's been in my buddy's garage, and he's like, "Hey man, I'm trying to sell my house," and the realtor said we got to stage the garage, and like this thing is in it still. So I was like, okay, and I've been meaning to sell it. So yeah, I made a national championship out of it.
There you go.
I won a boat out of it. I mean, dude, it's a magic boat. Like people would fish out of my boat and be like, "Oh, dude, we're in the Skeeter." I'm like, "Yeah, I know. Something crazy will happen." That's why one of the reasons why I still have it. I have had dreams of like restoring it like 100% to where it was. It's a 2007, like I said, but it's got a little sun fade. I mean, it's 100% functional right now. Put spark plugs in it, change the fuel injector, you're good to go. But I've had dreams of like making it perfect, and it's just not going to happen. So if anyone wants a good project boat or doesn't mind the seats or carpet's cracked and you live around the area, hit me up.
Maybe you can just take the butt seat out of it and put it in a new boat, and you'll bring the magic with it.
Yeah, I don't even know if I have a butt seat for it. I think I do.
Nice. It sounds like how my boat will be by the time I end up selling it. Will bass ever fish the Hudson again? I have no idea.
Yeah, no clue.
I think there's a restriction on the Hudson. Isn't there like a weird slot limit or something on the Hudson?
I have no clue.
I thought I maybe heard like that on Bass U or some other podcast where they're talking about it's got some kind of funky length limit on it. So cool. Well, we're 2 hours in. I think you probably missed all your rodeo.
That's all good. Or whatever.
Did you have a good dinner last night?
Yeah, it was okay. It wasn't that great. I had a strip, but it was like a Wagyu strip. I couldn't tell the difference between that and the USDA grade A that I get at Walmart. So, yeah, it wasn't bad. It was good. Either I make an amazing steak from Walmart, or theirs was not as good as it should have been.
They just need a Traeger.
Oh, dude, I'm all about that. I Traeger 3-4 days a week. Girlfriend got me a Traeger like 2 years ago, and I'm literally like turned into an instant grill master. Like Justin, like if you don't Traeger and you follow Justin Lucas on social media, what he's doing is not like otherworldly. Like you can do it with a Traeger.
Right.
You Traeger or pellet grill?
No, I have a big green egg. But
that's not bad.
No, it just takes more time to get where you need to be. It's less convenient. But like,
yeah, you need a pellet grill, man.
But I've already
you will regret the years that you don't have a Traeger. Or whatever. What's Josh Bertrand use? A Green Mountain. There's like a pellet grill war going on now.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Actually, my day job, I helped develop the packaging for the new Weber pellet grill.
Really?
Yeah.
We should be able to get one then, shouldn't you?
You'd think so. It didn't work out. But yeah, maybe you'll get to see the live scope on the ice. That's where live scope really dominates. Like even more so than anything you do in a boat. Like live scope on the ice is like harvesting, like just cheating. Like they can just like put it in, they just turn, and like cause they school up so hard in the winter, right? And suspend that you just start drilling holes. They just make like a grid and they just drop it in and they spin that thing around. They're like, oh nope, they're 20 yards over that way, or nope, like they're 50 yards over that way, and then they just go drill holes and they just.
Huh. No, I'm beyond jacked to go ice fishing. Like it's gonna be like
it's a great life experience.
Is it?
Yeah.
I guarantee my first fish will be like a 7-inch crappie, and I'll be like, take a picture.
Nice. Awesome. All right. We'll have to do this again sometime, Matt. Appreciate
Thanks,
you coming
Rich.
on.
I enjoyed it, man.
For any of you that don't know, right, look, Shirts Bass Talks Live and on YouTube. You can follow
it's also
Matt.
on all the 99% of our downloads and views are on iTunes, Google Play. I don't know. So if we leave one stream out, everybody gets offended, like, well, I listened to it on, okay.
Yeah. So yeah, if you're a podcast person, go on your app, search BTL or Bass Tech Live. You can follow Matt Pangrac at Instagram if you want to follow his endeavors. See his, I'm sure there'll be like some sweet stories from ice fishing here coming up in a couple of weeks, so you won't want to miss those.
Yeah. No.
And all right, awesome. So thanks everybody. If you're new to the show, make sure you subscribe, leave comments on the show afterwards. I put this on a podcast as well. If you guys don't want to watch 2 hours of YouTube, you can also, I'll have a link in the description below, and you can find that, or just search HellaBass on your podcast. And as always, here to help you guys catch more bass.